Hey everybody, and welcome back to Business Guide. Introduction. Flying faster for a cheaper rate has always been the dream for the future. Especially back in 1980, back then Concord, as it was called, was pointed to as a plane that would dominate the next century. A typical flight from New York to London would take 7 hours in a normal plane. With the Concord, the flight would only take 3.5 hours. However, this plane, as we all know today, had many problems. Fuel was expensive and limited the range of the plane. It was also extremely noisy and disturbed citizens as Concords flew by. In addition, it was also said that the plane was destroying the ozone layer. Immediately hope for the supersonic flight diminished. But what if there was a new supersonic plane coming soon? This is where Tesla's supersonic vertical takeoff and landing jet comes into play. A machine that Elon Musk has been dreaming of building for now. The biggest signal that an electric jet is on Musk's mind came during the question and answer session at the event. Tesla plans to produce its own batteries, which could deliver a 54% jump in battery range for electric cars and a 56% drop in price per kilowatt hour. Although Musk didn't explicitly outline density in the main talk, he later suggested that Tesla could reach that figure at a later date. There are batteries in limited production right now that do exceed 400 watt-hours per kilogram, which I think is about the number you need for a decent range, medium-range aircraft, and I think our batteries will, over time, start to approach the 400 watt-hours per kilogram range as well. Elon quoted, "I have a design in mind for electric supersonic vertical technology, and I think there is a particular opportunity for a supersonic vertical takeover landing electric jet." How Tesla will soon disrupt the airline industry. We've seen the transition to electric vehicles begin to accelerate. EVs are faster, cheaper to maintain, and on pace to become cheaper than internal combustion engines. When it comes to planes, we've never seen the transition to electric planes even begin to start. This is primarily because of the constraints of the energy density in current batteries. As of today, batteries are not able to fuel the planes during the entire flight. Even with EVs, we are still at a point where one charge won't be enough for a long road trip. However, Teslas have been preparing to release battery that has far more density than previous lithium-ion batteries. Many battery experts say that 400 watt-hours per kilogram is a point where batteries are dense enough to allow for vertical takeoff and landing. Vertical takeoff and landing, also known as VTOL, is exactly what it sounds like, the ability to fly an aircraft straight up and land like a drone. This type of technology is used in many military aircraft and especially helpful for environments that don't have enough space for a horizontal takeoff. To have a compelling aircraft, you only really need about 400 watt-hours per kilogram, provided your percentage of cell on the craft is high. It doesn't need to be anywhere near as high as that on a rocket, but it's sort of at the 70% level at 400 watt per kilogram, you can do very decent range. Elon Musk himself has stated that 400 watt-hours per kilogram with high cycle life and producing volume is not very far and will likely happen in 3 to 4 years. In addition, he already has a design for a VTOL jet and prepared to make one when the battery density allows him to. Why Tesla's upcoming plane is set for disruption. As covered in the beginning, the Concord failed to become mainstream for 3 key reasons. Fuel was costly, the plane was noisy, the gas damaged the ozone layer. Tesla's upcoming electric plane eliminates all 3 of these issues. For one, electricity is much cheaper than fuel, and at worst will have a cost on purity with gas planes running at normal speed. Additionally, electric is much quieter than engines as demonstrated with electric vehicles. EVs are so quiet that there have been serious debates about making fake engine sounds on all electric cars. So if I were to go down here now and shift into drive, I'll be quiet, you can hear this kind of hum sound effect, that's all, explained Musk. Furthermore, I'm pretty sure that everyone will be much happier if they didn't hear that annoying sound created during the entire flight. In addition, there wouldn't be much any damage to the ozone layer because the plane is running on electricity. All of these factors make perfect sense when it comes to electric planes. How fast are we talking on an electric jet? Typically, when it comes to gas-powered planes, the higher you go, the less efficient the plane is. On the other hand, the electric plane, the higher you go, the more efficient the plane is. Elon Musk has discussed this before, and close attention is to be paid on it because this has massive potential. I think the optimal sort of air transportation solution is a VTO electrical supersonic plane, and it actually works together quite well for a bunch of reasons. In particular, the higher you go, the better the electric aircraft is, whereas if you have a combustion aircraft, as you get higher, it tends to get worse because you have a kind of fixed aperture and air scoop. The hole in the front of the engine is fixed size and you have to pick a particular cruising altitude. So you go to figure out how you get this right amount at sea level, all the way thoroughly high altitude, then you get this issue of supersonic combustion, and you see it having to slow down and it ends up not being that efficient. But electric aircraft will just get better and better as it goes higher, quoted Musk in an interview. Because electric aircraft gets more efficient the higher it goes, this will actually allow for supersonic speeds far faster than one can imagine. With every foot climbed, air gets thinner and thinner and less air resistance. This theory is what Elon explained in the previously stated interview. We have to find a way to get through the right amount in order to operate. the previously way of going efficiently. This doesn't apply with electric airplanes. As an electric plane travels higher and higher, there is lower resistance on the plane, allowing the plane to go faster and faster. This is why it's much easier to fly faster in space than in the atmosphere. Elon explained this is when he was proposing the Hyperloop project, which is a project that looks to create a supersonic train built inside a tunnel. Elon explained in order to go really fast with the plane, you have to climb pretty high because the atmosphere just looks like molasses when you are going fast. So for distances certainly under 500 miles, you spend all your time just ascending and descending, and then you don't really get an opportunity to spend time at cruise. So something like a Hyperloop can completely really well in that arena because you instantly or almost instantly enter a low pressure environment. Estimating the speed that an electric plane would go is extremely difficult given that the technology is at an early stage in terms of miles per hour. Rolls-Royce has been looking at a more electric plane that could fly to 300 miles an hour. Tesla could easily complete that by a substantial amount with far superior battery technology and designing. Boeing and Airbus may become shocked by this tech, just like Nokia. Whenever a new technology comes into the playing field, the long-dominating company must make a choice. Do they go all in or stick to what they have been doing? Most of the time, long-dominating companies will choose a second choice and run the risk of going obsolete, which is what happened to Nokia and Blockbuster. So given that we know that this happens all the time, Boeing and Airbus might get disrupted very soon. Elon believes this is true because the companies have been extremely risk-adverse, and rightfully so. The strategy makes sense until you get disrupted. Well, it seems unlikely to come from Boeing and Airbus, given that they seem to be focused on very incremental improvements to the planes as opposed to radical improvements, said Musk. In conclusion, it's Elon's dream because in order for Musk's design to work, the plane would require a battery with an energy density higher than 400 Wh/kg. Tesla's newest batteries, Panasonic's 2170 batteries used in Model 3 cars, can only achieve an energy density of around 260 Wh/kg, but Tesla is working to increase that capacity at unprecedented speed right now. In a new exchange with ARK investment analyst Sam Corus, Musk said Tesla may be able to achieve volume production of 400 Wh/kg batteries in just 3 to 4 years. Years ago, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX even said that they had a design for electric vertical takeoff and landing (VTOL) aircraft, though he never elaborated on plans to bring the aircraft to production, although that will largely be a result of Tesla's effort to extend a vehicle's driving range, a battery of a capacity that will be powerful enough just to get an airplane off the ground. Overall, an electric plane really starts to make sense when the batteries are dense enough to allow for a supersonic flight. In addition, Tesla's goal has always been to accelerate the world to sustainable energies, and in order to do so, the company must disrupt aircrafts.